They say history hides its treasures in plain sight, but sometimes it hides them in your pocket. Imagine this: a humble copper-colored coin, dull with age, resting at the bottom of an old coffee can in your grandfather's garage. You pick it up, expecting it to be just another common cent, but under the right light, under the right magnifying glass, it whispers a secret that could change everything. Because in 1967, the United States Mint struck a coin so deceptively ordinary that today it has become one of the most sought-after pieces in modern numismatics. The Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin, without a mint mark. But what makes a single 1-cent coin from 1967 worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? With one recorded market sale estimated near $828,000. The answer is not just metal and minting. It's mystery, history, and human psychology woven together. The perfect storm for a numismatic legend. Let's go back to 1967. America was in the middle of the space race. Vietnam was on the news, and in the background, something subtle was happening inside the nation's minting facilities. For years, collectors had been flooding the U.S. Mint with requests for uncirculated coin sets, hoping to find rare varieties before they entered general circulation. The Mint, overwhelmed, decided to push back, quite literally. From 1965 through 1967, no mint marks were placed on coins at all. The idea was simple: remove the marks, calm the frenzy, and stabilize coin distribution. No Denver D, no San Francisco S, no Philadelphia P. Every coin during those years looked the same. Or so it seemed, but in the process of simplifying, the Mint accidentally created a complex mystery. A blank canvas that allowed tiny variances, die errors, and metal inconsistencies to slip through unnoticed. And within that sea of uniformity, certain 1967 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coins were born just a little different. Some were struck with unusual die polishing that altered the texture of Lincoln's portrait. Others carried microscopic doubling on the date or lettering, barely visible to the naked eye, but unmistakable to the trained collector. And a few, according to experts, were struck on planchets not meant for the Lincoln cent at all, thin blanks, left over from foreign coin contracts or experimental batches. These anomalies transformed a once ordinary coin into a numismatic enigma. Now, here's where things take a fascinating turn. Most Americans in 1967 spent those coins without a second thought. They jingled in pockets, rolled across diner counters, and disappeared into vending machines. Yet decades later, collectors began to notice that some of these pieces behaved strangely under analysis. Unusual weights, unexpected luster, or surfaces that seemed to shimmer differently under magnification. Coin grading services like PCGS and NGC began certifying a small number of them as exceptional. Proof-like strikes, unusual planchet compositions, and even rare doubled dies, the most extraordinary specimens, those preserved in near-perfect condition since the year of their minting, began fetching unbelievable prices at auction, and that's where our story's central figure enters. A pristine, unmarked 1967 Abraham Lincoln, 1-cent coin, certified in immaculate condition, and once valued at nearly $828,000 by private collectors. Why? Because scarcity alone doesn't drive value. It's the story, the emotion, the mystery, the human hunger for discovery that transforms copper into treasure. Think about it. Every collector, deep down, is chasing something beyond the metal. They're chasing immortality, a way to touch history, to hold in their hands something that connects them to another era. The 1967 cent represents a time capsule, the only year within the so-called no-mint mark era where the mint's identity vanished completely. It's the coin that refuses to reveal its birthplace. For the collector, that anonymity feels almost poetic. Who struck it? Was it born in Philadelphia or Denver? Was it part of a late-night batch, pressed from a reworked die that should have been retired? These questions linger like echoes, keeping collectors awake at night, flipping through rolls of coins, hoping lightning will strike twice. But here's the twist. Even experts admit that 99.9999% of 1967 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coins are worth face value. 1 cent? Nothing more. Yet, it's that microscopic fraction, that near impossible chance, that fuels an entire industry of hope and obsession. It's the same psychology that drives treasure hunters, stock traders, and dreamers. Because the next great discovery might not come from a distant gold field or a billionaire's vault. It might come from your kitchen drawer. Let's pause for a moment. When was the last time you looked closely, really looked, at a coin in your hand? That's the thing about American coinage. It's not just metal, it's memory. The faint scratches on its surface could have been made by a soldier's pocket, a mother's grocery run, or a child's first allowance. Each coin carries a silent biography, and once in a while, one of those biographies turns into legend. The 1967 cent is proof that greatness sometimes hides in the most overlooked places. Now, let's talk numbers, the lifeblood of any investor or collector. The modern coin market is no longer a quiet hobby. It's a global economy of rarity, emotion, and speculation. Over the past decade, prices for top-graded Lincoln cents from mid-century America have surged dramatically. Why? Because scarcity in pristine condition has collided with generational wealth transfer. Baby boomers who grew up with these coins now compete to reclaim pieces of their youth, while younger investors see them as tangible assets in a digital age. In 2023 and 2024, auction houses like Heritage and Stack's Bowers reported record-breaking results for copper and bronze coinage from the 1960s, especially those with documented provenance. Flawless luster and no mint marks. So yes, a 1967 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin can, in rare cases, reach astronomical value. But it's not luck alone, it's legacy. Still, the question remains, what should you look for? For the untrained eye, the differences can be nearly invisible. But collectors know the devil and the value are in the details, a perfect strike with full rim definition. Mirror-like surfaces that suggest an early die state, possible doubling on the 7 of the date or the letters of liberty, and a coin free from the smallest nick or discoloration. Because condition isn't just aesthetic, it's mathematical. Each imperfection subtracts from potential value, while each preserved detail adds another layer of worth. So when a collector finds a flawless 1967 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin, with no mint mark, sharp details, and unusual luster, that's not just a lucky find. That's a historical event, and yet here's the paradox. For every authentic rarity, there are thousands of hopeful hearts, convinced that their coin is the one. That's what makes numismatics both exhilarating and humbling. It demands knowledge, patience, and intuition, a kind of sixth sense that only develops over years of study. Every true collector knows that even if their search never leads to millions, the pursuit itself holds value. Because each coin they examine sharpens their eye, connects them to history, and deepens their appreciation for the craftsmanship that built a nation's currency. But still, there's something haunting about the idea that a single cent, the simplest symbol of American commerce, could carry such immense worth. Maybe it reminds us that wealth isn't just what you earn, it's what you recognize. How many people held that same coin and never saw what was in front of them? It's a metaphor as much as a market reality. In the noise of modern life, we overlook the extraordinary disguised as ordinary. The 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is a mirror, reflecting how easily we can miss our own opportunities, our own hidden treasures. In the private collections of America's most passionate numismatists, the 1967 Lincoln cent holds a sacred place, not because of its material, but because of its message. That chance, history, and curiosity can converge in the smallest of objects to create lasting wealth and even legacy. So perhaps the real question isn't what is it worth? Perhaps it's what else have we been overlooking? If you ever find yourself thumbing through an old coin jar, pause for a second. Let your fingers linger on the surface of each coin, the faint ridges, the soft tarnish, the echoes of decades past. Because somewhere out there, one of those seemingly insignificant copper pieces is waiting for someone who knows what they're looking at. And maybe, just maybe, that someone is you. That's the secret of the 1967 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin. It's not just about rarity. It's about recognition. A reminder that history rewards those who look closer, and that sometimes the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth $828,000 is nothing more than the eye of the beholder, and the courage to believe that ordinary things can still hold extraordinary power. Because in the end, every collector, every dreamer is searching for that moment when copper becomes gold, when curiosity becomes discovery, and when history looks back and says, "You found it." Have you ever held something so ordinary, yet so powerful, it could change your life forever? A coin so small it slips between your fingers, yet so rare it eclipses the price of a mansion. Somewhere, right now, sitting in an old coffee can, a desk drawer, or a forgotten box of childhood keepsakes, there could be a 1968 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin worth over $822,000. Yes, a single copper coin from San Francisco, carrying the humble image of Lincoln, could be a passport to generational wealth. But the real story behind this coin isn't just about money. It's about mystery, mistakes, and the delicate dance between history and chance that defines American numismatics. Let's go deeper. In 1968, America was standing on the edge of transformation. The Vietnam War, civil rights marches, the rise of new technology, every aspect of life was shifting. Amid that chaos, the U.S. Mint quietly reopened its San Francisco facility as a minting and proof center, producing millions of Lincoln 1-cent coins with a tiny S beneath the date. Most of them were ordinary. Billions, in fact. They jingled in pockets, paid for bubblegum, bus rides, and morning newspapers. But among them, just a handful were different. A few slipped through the cracks of human precision, and those errors would make them priceless. You see, in the intricate world of coin production, a mint mark is more than a letter. It's a fingerprint, a subtle clue revealing where a coin was born. And in 1968, something extraordinary happened during the engraving of proof dies for the Lincoln cents. A few dies were mistakenly paired or mispunched, creating coins with characteristics that shouldn't exist. Some bore doubled inscriptions. Others had faint or misplaced mint marks. A few revealed microscopic doubling on the phrase, "In God We Trust," or Lincoln's profile itself. But the rarest among them carried a mystery so subtle only trained eyes could see it, a doubled die obverse, where every detail of Lincoln's portrait seemed to echo ever so slightly, like a ghost of American history whispering through copper. Imagine this, a collector in California, decades later, dumps an old jar of coins onto a table. The room fills with that familiar clatter, the sound of history colliding with chance. Among the worn nickels and faded dimes, a small reddish coin catches the light just right. Something about the lettering seems off. He looks closer through a magnifier, and his heart stops. That's how many of these discoveries begin. Not in banks or museums, but in garages, estate sales, and inherited collections. The 1968 double die Lincoln cent is one of the most elusive modern rarities in U.S. coinage. Fewer than a dozen verified examples are known to exist, and when they appear at auction, bidding wars erupt like wildfire. The last confirmed sale? Over $800,000, for a coin most people would overlook as a common penny. But here's the question that keeps collectors awake at night. How many more are still out there? This is where psychology meets passion. For serious numismatists, the thrill isn't just in ownership, it's in the hunt. The chance that somewhere in their collection or a freshly opened coin roll lies a treasure no one has yet recognized. There's something profoundly human about that chase. It blends patience, intellect, and hope, the same ingredients that built fortunes in every generation. Consider this. Each time you pick up a 1968 Lincoln 1-cent coin, you're holding a piece of a year etched into American memory. The assassinations of King and Kennedy, the first moon mission launches, the sound of protest and progress. This tiny coin made of copper and zinc carries all of it, and perhaps a secret worth a lifetime's earnings. Here's a pattern interrupt for you. Did you know the average Lincoln cent circulates for 30 years before it's retired? That means a coin minted during the Summer of Love could easily still be traveling from pocket to pocket today. Some of these rare 1968 specimens may have changed hands thousands of times, their true value hidden in plain sight. It's poetic, really. A symbol of how opportunity often disguises itself as something ordinary. Now you might be wondering, how can a collector distinguish the extraordinary from the everyday? The answer lies in microscopic detail. True, 1968 doubled die obverse cents reveal distinct doubling on the inscriptions, "Liberty and in God we trust." Under magnification, each letter seems shadowed by a second impression. Crisp, not blurry. The mint mark S itself, though hand-punched separately in those days, may appear slightly misaligned or tilted. Counterfeits exist, of course, but professionals rely on die diagnostics and reference photos from verified examples cataloged by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC. When authenticated, the coin's pedigree becomes legend, and its value climbs accordingly. But what gives this coin its market power isn't just scarcity. It's narrative. Collectors don't buy metal, they buy meaning. The story behind the coin is what transforms it from copper to treasure. When a collector holds a 1968 doubled die cent, they're touching the physical proof that perfection isn't necessary for greatness. In fact, it's often the flaw, the tiny human error, that makes something truly unforgettable. This truth resonates deeply in today's market. As the economy fluctuates and digital investments come and go, tangible assets like rare coins have regained their allure. They offer not just beauty and history, but stability, a hedge against uncertainty, a conversation piece, and a vessel of legacy. In recent years, the numismatic market has seen a quiet renaissance. Younger investors are entering the field, blending technology with tradition, scanning online auctions, comparing grading data, studying die varieties from high-resolution images. Yet the real veterans, those who've weathered decades of market shifts, know the secret. True rarity hides where most people never think to look. Now here's the twist. While the 1968 Lincoln cent may headline the story, it also symbolizes something broader, the timeless lesson of overlooked value. How many other coins, dismissed as common pocket change, could be sleeping giants? How many inheritances have been spent, traded, or rolled back to the bank without anyone realizing what slipped away? The great irony is that the most valuable coins are often those that escaped perfection. The mistruck, the doubled, the off-center, the ones that broke the pattern. Just like people. That's the emotional connection collectors feel when they study a coin under light. The awe of realizing that human imperfection can create beauty, rarity, and immense worth. Let's pause for a moment. Imagine finding one yourself. You pull out a magnifying glass, tilt the coin under the light. At first, it's just copper, but then something catches your eye. The letters seem thicker, doubled. The date glows with a subtle echo. Could it be? Your pulse quickens. You compare it online, your hands trembling, and then you see it. The same die markers, the same tilt of the mint mark. Suddenly, what was worth 1 cent might be worth more than your home. That moment, the collision of disbelief and discovery, is what drives the numismatic world. It's not just about collecting. It's about connecting the present to the past and realizing that the smallest objects can carry the greatest stories. Even major institutions recognize this magic. The Smithsonian's National Numismatic Collection houses millions of coins, but curators admit that it's the stories, not the metal, that matter most. Each piece is a silent witness to human ambition, error, and evolution. And the 1968 Lincoln cent stands as one of the great modern mysteries, a coin that shouldn't exist, yet does. That appears ordinary, yet commands a king's ransom. If you think the age of coin discoveries is over, think again. In the past decade alone, multiple previously unknown varieties have surfaced, found by sharp-eyed collectors armed with patience, magnifiers, and curiosity. Every time a new one appears, the market shifts, records break, and headlines follow. That's the power of awareness. So what does all this mean for you? the collector, the investor, the dreamer. It means opportunity still glimmers in the smallest of places. It means history still hides in your hands. And it means that legacy, real, lasting legacy, can begin with something as simple as taking a closer look. The 1968 Lincoln 1-cent coin isn't just a numismatic marvel. It's a metaphor for the overlooked treasures in our own lives, the potential waiting quietly in plain sight, dismissed as ordinary until the right eyes notice. Perhaps that's why the story of this coin resonates so deeply with American collectors. It captures our collective belief that greatness can emerge from the humblest beginnings, that what others ignore, the patient and the perceptive, can transform into wealth, pride, and legacy. Before you empty that next jar of coins, remember this: every time you hear that soft metallic chime, you're not just sorting change, you're sifting through history. Check the date, study the details, question the obvious. Because one small copper disc from 1968, bearing the modest S of San Francisco, could be more than just a reminder of Lincoln's enduring legacy. It could be your ticket to a story worth telling for generations. So keep your magnifier close, your mind sharp, and your curiosity alive. The next fortune may not come from Wall Street gold bars or digital coins. It might be hiding right there in your pocket, disguised as a penny. The 1973 Lincoln 1-cent coin has become one of those whispers, a mystery piece that has captured the imagination of numismatists and treasure hunters across the country. But how did a simple copper coin, minted in the millions, become the center of stories about million-dollar value and staggering auction figures? Let's trace its path. Back to the beginning. The year was 1973. America was restless. The Vietnam War was drawing to a close, the Watergate scandal was unraveling in Washington, and inflation was beginning to tighten its grip on the nation's wallet. At the Denver Mint, machines thundered, day and night, striking billions of coins to keep up with the country's expanding economy. Among them, countless Lincoln 1-cent coins were pressed into existence, each bearing Abraham Lincoln's thoughtful gaze and the simple dignity of his memorial on the reverse. But something unusual happened that year. While the Philadelphia and San Francisco mints produced their share of the 1-cent coins, the Denver Mint, identifiable by its D mint mark beneath the date, was at the center of subtle experiments and die variations. And in the numismatic world, a single variation can mean the difference between a common coin and a life-changing discovery. For most collectors, the 1973 Lincoln 1-cent doesn't immediately raise alarms. It isn't a key date. It isn't made of precious metal. And yet some specimens have surfaced showing anomalies, microscopic differences in the strike, doubling in the lettering, or irregularities in the die alignment. A few of these coins, examined under magnification, revealed what experts call transitional die traits. In plain terms, they were struck with dies that may have been prepped for experimental compositions or early modifications for later issues. In coin terms, that's like finding a fossil from the future embedded in the past. One particular specimen, reportedly sold at a private auction for over $817,000. Not because of its composition alone, but because it told a story the mint never meant to tell. Pause and think about that. A coin weighing barely 3 grams, fetching nearly $1 million. It's easy to dismiss stories like this as exaggeration, until you remember that numismatic history is full of them. The 1943 Copper Lincoln. 1-cent coin struck by mistake during the wartime steel cent era sold for $1, $7 million. The 1955 double die version with its ghostly doubled letters became a legend in its own right. And the 1973 D, though not officially recognized as an error type in most catalogs, occupies that gray zone, the what-if territory where collectors' dreams collide with market curiosity. But here's what makes this story even more fascinating. Unlike coins known for dramatic visual differences, the potential 1973 D rarity hides in plain sight. No glaring misprint, no silver shine, nothing that screams treasure. Just a quiet, copper face, indistinguishable from every other 1-cent piece you've ever held. This is where psychology enters the story. Collectors, at their core, are storytellers. They chase meaning through metal, searching for that piece of the past that connects them to a larger narrative. And when word spreads that a coin once considered worthless could hold a six-figure secret, it stirs something deeper than greed. It awakens curiosity. Every jar of old coins in an attic becomes a potential gold mine. Every trip to a flea market feels like destiny waiting under a thin layer of dust. Of course, not every 1973 Lincoln 1-cent coin is valuable. Most are still worth 1 cent. But the hunt isn't just about finding the jackpot. It's about being part of the mystery. Because numismatics isn't merely the study of coins, it's the pursuit of history, wealth, and legacy woven into a single object small enough to fit in your palm. And legacy. That's the true currency here. When you hold a 1973 Lincoln 1-cent coin, you're touching more than copper. You're touching a symbol of transition, a nation between eras, a mint between technologies, a collector between luck and legend. The Denver Mint of the early 70s was known for its mechanical precision, but also for occasional overuse of dies, tiny imperfections multiplied across thousands of strikes. Each die had a lifespan, and as it wore, it left subtle fingerprints. Weak strikes on the E of Liberty, doubled dates or faint traces of earlier design preparation. And somewhere among those countless impressions, the right combination of factors produced something rare, a coin that defied its destiny. Some numismatists speculate that these rare 1973 pieces might include off-metal strikes, coins accidentally, minted on planchets meant for foreign denominations or different compositions. Others believe they're part of early test runs for a potential compositional shift that would eventually lead to the zinc-based cents introduced in 1982. Whatever the case, the allure is undeniable. Now here's a pattern interrupt for you. You know that every year, millions of Americans unknowingly throw away rare coins worth thousands of dollars, simply because they look normal? A single misaligned die, a doubled image, or a faint off-color toning could be the difference between spare change and a collector's windfall. The average person might toss it in a tip jar, but a seasoned collector pauses, tilts it under the light, and listens, not with ears, but with intuition. That's the collector's instinct. And it's what turns ordinary people into historians, detectives, and investors all at once. Let's fast forward to today's market. The demand for error coins, especially from the Lincoln Cent series, has never been stronger. As traditional investments waver and people look for tangible assets, coins have become a quiet form of wealth storage, a hedge against time itself. In the past 5 years, online auctions for rare Lincoln 1-cent varieties have seen dramatic surges. Coins once trading for a few $100s now fetch tens of thousands, fueled by both scarcity and the emotion of discovery. And with the 1973 legend circulating through forums, documentaries, and collector groups, prices for high-grade or anomalous examples have climbed. Even coins with the faintest signs of minting irregularities, die breaks, double dies, or transitional toning, are commanding premiums. It's not just about metal anymore. It's about meaning, the story behind the strike, the mystery that keeps you searching. But let's address the question every investor wants answered. Could your 1973 Lincoln 1-cent coin really be worth hundreds of thousands? Here's the truth. Maybe. If you possess a coin showing extreme die anomalies, off-metal characteristics, or a proven minting irregularity authenticated by top-tier grading agencies like PCGS or NGC, then yes, your coin could represent one of the rarest modern U.S. issues in existence. But even if not, your coin still holds something equally valuable, potential. And potential is what fuels this entire world of collecting. You see, coin collecting is not a game of chance. It's a game of patience and pattern recognition. The greatest collectors didn't strike gold overnight. They learned to see what others overlooked. They studied mint marks, die variations, metal composition, strike quality, all the small details that separate a 1-cent coin from a national treasure. So when a rumor spreads that a 1973 D specimen sold for $817,000, the wise collector doesn't dismiss it. They investigate. Because where there's smoke in numismatics, there's often history smoldering underneath. The deeper meaning of this coin lies in what it represents: hidden value. That's why so many collectors fall in love with the Lincoln series. It's a mirror of the American spirit itself: humble beginnings, enduring purpose, and the possibility of greatness against all odds. Abraham Lincoln's face, quiet, steadfast, compassionate, reminds us that value isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's quiet endurance that becomes priceless over time. The 1973 D coin embodies that same idea. It's the underdog of American coinage. Ignored for decades, then suddenly rediscovered as a potential masterpiece of minting anomaly and historical intrigue. Picture this. You're sitting at your desk, sorting through a jar of old coins your grandfather left behind. The copper pieces clink softly like echoes from the past. Your fingers stop on a 1973 D. The color looks different. The lettering slightly doubled. You hold it under a lamp. The light dances across the surface, and for a brief moment, you wonder if you're touching history's secret. That's the magic of numismatics. It's not about luck. It's about awareness. Because in every pile of coins, there's a possibility that one of them has defied time, chance, and probability to become something extraordinary. So the next time you see a worn Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin from the Denver Mint, don't just spend it. Study it. Tilt it. Inspect the edges, the lettering, the color. Because one of those tiny copper discs might just be the one the world has been whispering about. The elusive 1973 D worth a fortune. And even if you never find it, the search itself will change how you see value. You'll begin to understand that wealth isn't always measured in dollars. Sometimes it's measured in curiosity, in legacy, in the quiet joy of discovery. In the end, the 1973 D Lincoln 1-cent coin reminds us of something profound, that even the smallest things can carry unimaginable worth if you learn to look closely enough. So keep searching, keep learning, and remember, history doesn't always rest in museums or vaults. Sometimes it hides in your change jar, waiting for someone like you to notice. They say a single cent can't change your life. But what if one small copper coin, an Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin minted in Denver in 1978, could be worth more than your home, your car, and your retirement fund combined? What if that tiny sliver of metal, the kind you might brush off your dresser or find wedged in a couch cushion, was secretly valued at over $800,000? This isn't a fairy tale. It's a story about rarity, timing, and the strange alchemy of human desire. How the smallest relics of history can transform into treasure when the world finally remembers their worth. Let's begin with a single question. How many 1978 D Lincoln cents have passed through your hands? Hundreds, maybe thousands over a lifetime? Most people think of them as ordinary, mass-produced coins with no collector value. After all, more than 4.2 billion were struck at the Denver Mint that year. But hidden within that ocean of copper-plated zinc lies a handful of coins that defy logic and bend the rules of probability. The 1978 D Lincoln 1 cent isn't famous for a flashy error or a dramatic misstrike. Its allure is subtler, born from the quiet intersection of perfection, condition, and scarcity. Among billions, only a few have survived the test of time with untouched brilliance, uncirculated, shimmering, and flawless even under magnification. And that's where the story takes a turn. In recent years, the numismatic market has witnessed an awakening, a hunger for near-perfect relics of America's economic history. Collectors, investors, and even hedge funds are beginning to treat coins not just as curiosities, but as historical assets, tiny, portable stores of generational wealth. When one of these 1978 D Lincoln cents surfaced in mint state 67 plus red, the reaction was electric. The bidding war that followed was fierce, driven by a mix of nostalgia, pride, and cold financial calculation. When the hammer finally fell, the coin sold for an astonishing $812,000, a record-breaking sum for a cent minted in a decade most people still remember. But why? What makes this coin, this humble copper token bearing Lincoln's solemn profile, command such reverence and value? The answer lies in the psychology of perfection and the mythology of the mint itself. Back in 1978, the Denver Mint was operating under intense production quotas. Billions of coins needed to be struck quickly and efficiently to meet national demand. Dies were used until exhaustion. Quality control was pragmatic, not perfectionist. The result? Most coins bore tiny imperfections, contact marks, faded details, or uneven coloration. Finding a coin from that run that survived 4 decades without a blemish is like finding a flawless diamond in a riverbed of gravel. But that's only part of the story. The real magic comes from what this coin represents. A frozen moment in America's changing identity. 1978 was a transitional year, the end of one era and the uncertain dawn of another. Inflation was rising, trust in the government was shaky, and the mint was preparing for major compositional changes that would soon alter the physical nature of U.S. coinage itself. Within just 4 years, the copper content of the Lincoln cent would be reduced dramatically, marking the end of an age when our smallest denomination still held the weight and warmth of real metal. So when collectors see a 1978 D Lincoln 1 cent in pristine, mint red condition, they're not just seeing a coin, they're seeing the last breath of an era. A tangible link to a time when American change still had substance, both in metal and in meaning. Now, pause for a moment and consider this. If such a coin could be hiding in a forgotten roll or a dusty jar in your home right now, would you even recognize it? That's where most people falter. Many life-changing coins are overlooked, not because they're invisible, but because they're disguised as ordinary. The difference between a 1-cent coin worth 1 cent and one worth nearly $1 million often lies in the subtlest of details. A crisp strike, an undisturbed luster, a perfect alignment of die and planche. Professional graders at institutions like PCGS and NGC use microscopes, precision lighting, and decades of experience to assign these subtle judgments. Each coin they certify becomes part of a living archive of American minting history, a record of survival against the odds. And here's the twist that few outside the numismatic world understand. Once a coin reaches near legendary grade status, its value doesn't just depend on metal. It's driven by story. Every rare coin that changes hands carries with it a narrative: who found it, how it survived, and what it represents. The Abraham Lincoln 1 cent, with the 1978 D mint mark, tells a story of resilience, of a nation that continued to believe in small acts of value even when the economy wavered. That emotional resonance fuels demand among collectors who see themselves not just as investors, but as custodians of heritage. Think about it this way. Gold can be melted, stocks can vanish, but a coin with history can outlive its owners. It's a relic that whispers across generations. In the quiet world of high-end numismatics, whispers travel fast. Private collectors exchange rumors of perfect 1978 D specimens locked away in vaults or discovered by accident in old estate collections. Auction houses discreetly confirm that demand is climbing, not just for the coin itself, but for the feeling it evokes: nostalgia, patriotism, permanence. One seasoned collector once described holding a gem-quality Lincoln cent as touching America's heartbeat in metal form. So why is the market awakening now? It comes down to generational transition. The first great wave of baby boomer collectors, those who grew up with the Lincoln cent in their pockets, are beginning to pass down their collections. Younger investors, drawn to tangible assets in an uncertain economy, are re-entering the market. As inflation erodes the value of paper and digital currency loses its mystique, the solid weight of a copper coin begins to feel safe again, trustworthy, eternal. And yet here's the irony. While everyone dreams of owning the rarest coins, most people never bother to look. The average American household contains hundreds of old coins hiding in plain sight, coins stored in jars, drawers, and forgotten boxes. Some are corroded and worthless, yes, but some hold the quiet potential to rewrite your financial story. So the next time you open a roll of Lincoln cents, look closer. Under good lighting, tilt each coin gently. Notice the sheen, the sharpness of Lincoln's cheek and beard, the definition of the steps on the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. These details matter more than most people realize. A flawless strike with deep, reddish luster and minimal contact. Marks could signal a coin destined for greatness. Imagine being the person who finds that hidden gem, someone who takes an overlooked coin and reveals its brilliance to the world. That's the thrill of numismatics. Discovery wrapped in discipline, art wrapped in science. But let's be honest, this pursuit isn't just about money. It's about meaning. Collectors often speak of the call of the coin, that strange pull toward history's forgotten corners. They're not merely chasing profit. They're chasing connection to the past, to craftsmanship, to stories that outlast us all. The 1978 Lincoln 1 cent that sold for over $800,000 wasn't valuable because it was rare in number. It was valuable because it was rare in perfection, a coin that defied time, handling, and entropy itself. There's a quiet poetry in that. In a world obsessed with speed and disposability, a tiny coin from Denver, struck in 1978, has become a symbol of endurance, a reminder that true worth often hides in plain sight, waiting for eyes patient enough to see. And maybe that's the lesson hidden inside every collection, every coin roll, every gleaming cent tucked away in a forgotten jar. The smallest things can carry the largest stories. Before we close, here's a thought to keep with you, one that separates great collectors from casual hobbyists. The greatest treasures are rarely announced. They reveal themselves only to those who pay attention. So take a second look at your change, your coin jars, your family keepsakes. Because somewhere out there, another 1978 Abraham Lincoln 1 cent may be waiting, untouched, unrecognized, and ready to rewrite the story of whoever finds it. And when that moment comes, it won't just be about the money. It will be about discovery, legacy, the thrill of knowing that history chose you to bring its hidden beauty back to light. Because in the world of coins, value isn't just measured in dollars. It's measured in stories that endure, stories struck in copper and sealed in time. And sometimes, those stories are worth more than gold.